Hey guys, it's your boy Peter Lou, Real Wheel Deal, and today's a defining day because I have at the shop the brand new TE37 SAGA SL, which is a brand new SL that was defined for the last decade. And this is the new replacement for the original TE37 SL. So now we have it in the shop. Let's go back to the shop and I'll give you guys a deep dive review right now. So now we're going to take a deep dive and let you guys know everything that's new about this wheel and what the changes have been done to make it different than the old wheel, the old SL. Okay, so before we get started, this is the first one I have in the shop. I'm going to tell you right away, this is going to be an extremely popular wheel, just like the old SL was. We've got to first dive into the history of this wheel to really understand how the SL came to be. So the story of the TE37 is really long, really extensive. I have a link below. You can watch my history on the TE37 to get really deep depth knowledge of the TE37. But I'm just going to give you guys a quick recap for this wheel just so that we can get a little bit of history. So basically, the iconic 6-spoke TE37 was introduced in 1996 and they used a lot for racing, lots of iterations of them, lots of different variations. But in 2010, one of the biggest and probably the most important iteration of TE37 besides the OG variant is the SL, which is this one here. And the SL stood for super lap, or as some people also say, super light. They made some changes on it to further enhance the weight saving properties and make it more of a track focused wheel. So how the SL came to be was the SL was made of the original mold of the TE37. Why the SL's face is the same as the OG's face, but the SL was packed with a couple new features. First thing is they reduced the weight by cutting out this bore to save up to 400 grams on certain wheels, and that resulted in not being able to run center cap in the pursuit of saving weight. The other thing was they also shaved some weight behind the spoke. So the back of the spoke here, the shape was changed a little bit. So that cutting not only reduced the weight a bit, but also gave you a little bit of additional weight clearance, which aided in some time attack wheels. Another thing that's really famous on the SL, besides the spoke sticker, was also the paint finishes. So this one here is pressed graphite. Really unique color that VOLK came out with to kind of give you an impression that it was a very lightweight paint. In the middle here and on the edge, you can see the paint is very thin. You can actually see the metal right through it. So that was giving you an impression it was a super lightweight time attack wheel. You know it's famous because this very spoke sticker that they had here, this really was like a defining moment and is really used in the industry a lot now. And right away when you have that SL sticker, identifiable, almost everybody in the aftermarket industry knows that if you have that sticker on that spoke, it's going to be an SL unless you have a knockoff, in which case nobody respects you. Another color they did was pressed double black, which is very similar to this, except inside is a graphite here. It's kind of like a gloss black, but that middle and the edge still had that same machining clearness that we have on these wheels. When the original SL came out, it was a game changer because all of these Super Taikyu Series and TC2000 time attacks, they saw this new VOLK wheel, they started putting on their builds and actually translated to faster lap times on the track. So these teams and these time attack teams, they started adopting this wheel immensely, and that really like made the popularity of the wheel just kind of skyrocket. That everyone in Japan was adopting them. They're being used in competition like crazy. Then obviously if you see something used in competition so much, it has, you know, that one spoke sticker, everyone's like, man, I really want that wheel, and it started being really, really popular. So since then, 2010 till now, the SL was discontinued last year. That means this wheel had over a 10-year run, and I would say of all the TE37 variants, besides the OG, the SL, definitely the most popular. I think you would agree with me. So now I got the history of the SL out of the way. We're gonna dive to the brand new one, the SAGA SL. For the SAGA, you guys might see my SAGA video, or you might see it in my TE37 recap video. The SAGA was really introduced in the last couple of years as a replacement for the original TE37. Cars were getting heavier, cars were putting out way more power, and the rigidity and strength and load of the wheel needed to be increased. So in effort, VOLK went back to the drawing board. They redesigned the TE37 to have stronger properties, and that's how the SAGA was emerged, which is the new face and new style of TE alongside the SL of the old one. But the SL being discontinued, we all knew that the SL version of the SAGA was going to be released, and surely they did. And that's the one I have here today. And there's a lot of things to discuss with it. First, I'm going to discuss the difference from the SL SAGA versus the SAGA. So first thing you're going to notice is right away the paint finish. This one I said is in pressed graphite, which is what the SL was first introduced in. So they've used this finish on this generation as well. There's also another color. They call it M-Spec, and M-Spec actually has like a matte black spoke. Here is kind of thin, here is kind of thin as well, similar to this. But what happens is it's all kind of like a matte wheel, and that's very similar to the black edition of the old SL. And those are two paint finishes they have right now, but being the SL, it's gonna be a very popular wheel. You're gonna be sure that you're gonna do every color under the sun that VOLK offers. Second difference they have from this and the SAGA is, of course, here you see a spoke sticker. VOLK Racing Original, there's also another sticker here, another sticker here. On original SAGA, it actually has cutting here, VOLK Racing, that they use, and it's actually engraved with it. But with this, they have a sticker, so it looks, you know, really lightweight. Other than that, they've done some additional weight savings by doing some different things with the spoke to save additional weight, and also because of the paint finish. So overall, the SL is a super light version of the SAGA. So it's a SAGA, but being time attack focused and being performance orientated. And now we're going to discuss the new SL versus the old SL. So there are a lot of changes that the new SL has, which has further improved it versus the old one. First thing being that because it's the Saga face, the Saga offers more concave faces than the OG TE. So all the available sizes of this wheel are all very concave face. Even the very flat ones, the appearance of the face, they made it very concave. Other thing that's done is the old SL, you couldn't run center caps. They didn't make adapters, but you know, we're 50-50. This actually kept the ridges for the center caps because I think a lot of people buying the old SL, they really want to run center caps. So for all the new Saga SLs, they made sure there was a center cap ridge. Another cool difference that makes the wheel look a little bit cleaner, you notice, is on the old SL, they actually have all this lettering here on the inside as made in Japan monoblock. On the new wheel, there's none of that. It's all gone. They chose to stick with the forged raised engineering similar to the Saga, and that kind of makes the wheel look really clean, kind of like brings it up another level. It's 50-50. I kind of like the old lettering as well, but I'm sure this one's going to grow on me. Another big change is actually these holes. So the holes here, they're actually M14. So if you know like Civic Type R, Tesla, they're using like these bigger bolts. Some of the older SLs, they were using the smaller bolts like M12. So they weren't actually able to be put on without having to have them bored out. But now even this one, this is like an 18-inch WRX wheel. The hole actually can support an M14 bolt. So that's been really nice. And not only that change in the hub, it's hard to see, but here they actually have a double ridge here, which is how they further cut more weight into the pocket here. So if I use my nail, I can feel like there's a double ridge 2-line here. That's a big change that they've also done on this wheel. The last big change on this wheel versus the SL is tire knurling. So it's not evident unless you have seen the wheel unmounted. Very important to have on a time attack wheel. So this old wheel, it was doing really good for time attack. Teams were adopting it like crazy, but this new wheel with the addition of the tire knurling, you know what, it's gonna shine really good. It's gonna make sure that tire contact is on there really firm. It's gonna communicate well to the driver. If you're doing time attack with a modern performance, modern weight of vehicles and how much power they're putting down, this tire knurling will further aid you in making sure that the rim is really tight against the tire, is not spinning inside there and losing some kind of power. So now I'm just gonna do a deep dive of the wheel. I might have repeated many things of what I've already said when I compared this with the Saga, and also when I compared this with the old SL. But right when we look in the front, I told you guys about the elongated spokes, that concave face. So even when I turn this wheel aside, you can see it's very concave. Next thing I need to discuss is, of course, sizing. It's only available currently in an 18-inch. And that's what happened with the original SL. It debuted only in an 18-inch because that's kind of like a very time attack centric size. But later on, they started moving them to 17 inches. They started having the smaller ones. For this wheel, right now it's only available in 18. I'm sure they'll move to other sizes, but probably not the really small sizes, like the 15s and the 16-inch. They're probably going to reserve that for the Sonic SL, but maybe a 17 in the future. And width-wise, 8.5 up to 11-inch wide. So of course, time attack centric wheel. And the other thing is the faces. So this wheel is really concave, but it's because they actually only have it in the face 3, 4, and 5. The Saga has additional faces 1 and 2, which are very flat. But for this wheel, because it's so time attack and performance centric, they made sure it only came in those concave faces. So start from the middle of the wheel. I want you guys to see up close here. There's like a very iridescent finish here. It's machined, so the coating here is kind of like a clear iridescent. It looks really, really nice because they're really polished and high-end finish. So here, this pocket kind of has these 2 lines here that I was talking about. These holes a little bit larger now, M14. Here we have the flange so that you can actually put the center cap in. Now we're gonna look at the stickers, and the sticker, the spoke sticker, really iconic. Of course, they had it before, but now you can see there's actually some die cutting in it. So you can actually see the finish of the wheel and the color of the wheel through the sticker. When I had the sticker on the sheet, it was clear. So VOLK Racing Original. Here is a very new sticker, never previously seen, says Raise Eng, so Raise Engineering. It's on the opposite side here. They used to have a TE37 SL sticker down here. As you can see on the old wheel, I have it down here. On here, they chose to have it on the opposite here as well, TE37 SL Saga. Besides those insignias, we have here, it says Forged, Made in Japan, Raise Engineering. Those are AMT cut in. And of course, here we have our JWL VIA right around our valve stem here. The other thing that's changed a lot on the Saga is actually where the spoke meets the face. This kind of goes in and it has a strength bar right around here. It has further changed the profile of the wheel. So this profile wheel, see, it's got a very, very big barrel, and then right where the spokes meet it, they try and keep it about as off and as front here as possible. This allows for very, very big brake clearance. Another thing that's noticeable is the lip style here. It looks really cool. It's also kind of got that same thing as the middle, but it's machined on the edge here. But you'll notice that it cuts in really far. It's because this flange is actually quite a bit thicker than the old flange. I'm looking at it, and that looks like that new flange is there for that increased weight, increased power to kind of hold that tire further down. On the side here, as I previously discussed, there's the tire knurling, and the front here is kind of glossy because of the finish, and the back here is very matte. So back of the wheel, we have this really, really good spoke design. You'll notice that there's no cutting on the back of the spokes, kind of like the Saga. they've actually cut kind of like that strength bar, they've cut it all the way down flat. So it's actually flat on this wheel again, which kind of is where they shave some of the weight. The hubs here are all cut in really good. You also have a pocket here. Lots of time attack cars. You need to run spacers, so that allows the original lugs to kind of poke through so the spacer can fit. Back here, even though they have the center cap flange, they're trying to cut as much weight behind the cap as they can to further aid in that weight reduction. And the last bit you're going to see here that isn't evident is this big flange in the back. So the back flange here, quite a lot thicker than the old flange. I would say it seems like there's a lot more material there, and that material strength is also going to help it a lot more for taking impacts. So when you're going off curbing or hitting someone on track, how thick and how strong this flange is really impacts how likely the wheel is to bend on the inside here. And they added a lot of reinforcement there. So last important thing I want to talk about this wheel before we move into weight, this wheel is going to be heavier than the old SLs. And if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you know the SL is a very light wheel. On paper, a lot of people are really hung up on the weight of a wheel. On paper, it might be lighter. In real world applications, it's going to be stronger, or it's going to fold like paper. Obviously, the old SL was already really strong, very thoroughly tested. With the new Saga, I wouldn't expect this wheel to be lighter because of some of the enhancements they've added to the wheel to make it phenomenally stronger. And I think that's more important in our day and age, especially with the weight of EVs, especially with increasing of power, especially with increase of weight and safety equipment. This wheel will be heavier. I know that on my channel, I used to preach weight a lot. Modern day now, a lot of manufacturers are starting to do a lot of weight cutting, but at the risk of impacting the rigidity of the wheel. So that's why I think VOLK chose to start going the route of the wheels being heavier and starting to accept that fact, instead of some brands which keep going with the pursuit of reducing weight without increasing rigidity or strength, and that's gonna hurt. So on paper it looks good, the real world applications, guys, I think this is the route that we should be going. All right, so it's real wheel deal. Of course, gotta weigh off the wheel. And I'm gonna tell you guys, this wheel is an 18 by 10 plus 35. Let's put on there, 20 pounds even. So that's still a really light wheel. I would say any wheel in an 18-inch with 9 inches or larger, if it's 20 pounds and under, it's a phenomenally light wheel. You're gonna see a lot of weight savings on that compared to OEM, but we're gonna have additional strength with the new design of this wheel. So really impressive. I think the old SL, I had 18 by 9.5 plus 40, and it was 18 pounds. So this wheel is only 2 pounds heavier, but this one's half an inch wider. So there was added weight to this wheel, but like I discussed before, there's some importance on why we need that. All right, so that ends our video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know there's a lot of data to unpack in there because the TE37 SL Saga has so much in it. It has both the heritage of the Saga and it has both the heritage name of the SL to carry. So hopefully it wasn't too boring. I didn't pack in too much info for you guys, but this wheel deserved a longer video. It's gonna be iconic. It's gonna carry the name of the SL. We're gonna see it in a lot of builds, and I swear it's gonna be an immensely popular wheel coming up here. So if you guys like that video, hit subscribe, comment below, let me know what you think about the new Saga SL, and if you thought that VOLK achieved its goal of making this the new benchmark of time attack wheels.